Hello, I hope you enjoy evaluating these algebraic expressions that are your names. And this video is just a quick tutorial on how to do some of the problems and get you started, along with a couple of helpful hints that I found along the way while I was making the answer key. So first of all, as you can see, A through Z are listed here at the top and what their values are. The letter I shows up quite a bit in your names. So I is equal to 1/10. And a lot of times when I was working this out, I converted 1/10 to a fraction just to make it easier. But then sometimes I left it as 0.1. And the nice thing about 1/10 is when you're multiplying, let's say 16 times 1/10, you just move that decimal over one place. So 16 times 1/10 is equal to 1.6. 72 times 1/10 is equal to 7.2. So whether you want to work with decimals or fractions, I chose a lot of the times to work with fractions. So in that case, I changed J to 1/4. And let's see here, Q did not show up in any of your names, so I did not use that. 3/10 is U, so I rewrote that as 3/10. And so again, that's just one of my hints to you as you're working through these. The second thing I'll tell you is that I went through and I put 1 star next to the ones that I thought were the easiest and 3 stars next to the ones that are the hardest. And so maybe you want to go through and try some of the 1 stars, maybe kick it up a notch and try a couple of the 2 stars. There was no scientific way of me choosing 1, 2, and 3 stars. I was just thinking how much I had to work on these, and then I rated them accordingly. So I am going to work through 2 of the 3 stars, 1 of the 2 stars, and 1 of the 1 stars. So if I happen to pick one of your names, I'm not going to actually solve or evaluate it all the way through, but get you started. So let's start with Nicole's name. And my strategy for you and for everyone is to cross off the variables and put the value of the variable next to it. So n is equal to -1, I is equal to 1/10, and C is equal to 3, plus O is equal to 11, L is equal to 3/4, and E is equal to 1/2. Okay, so what I want to look at right here is 1/10 times 3. 1/10 times 3 is the same thing as 1/10 times 3 over 1. And when you're multiplying fractions, you just multiply straight across. So 1 times 3 is 3, 10 times 1 is 10. And this -1 times -1 times a +3/10 just makes that a -3/10. Okay? Up here, 11 is a whole number, so I'm just going to put that over 1, and I'm going to multiply straight across. 11 times 3 times 1 is 33, and 1 times 4 times 2 is 8. So what I have here is -3/10 plus 33/8. And I'm not going to go ahead and figure out the rest of it. I'm just going to give you a hint that you need a common denominator of 10 and 8. And then because one of them is negative and one of them is positive, what you're going to end up doing is subtracting those two fractions once you get that common denominator. So good luck with Nicole's name. Another 3-star that I'm going to do is, let's see here, Lily. Okay, Lily has 3 letters. L is 3/4. Okay, so I'm going to come down here and put 3/4 divided by, and then 3/4 divided by. I is equal to 1/10. Okay, and I know that Y is 40. So I just want you to take a look at the way I wrote those. Okay, sometimes that writing those fractions as division problems can look a little bit intimidating, but really what I'm saying is 3/4 divided by 1/10, which is the same thing as 3/4 times 10 over 1. When I'm dividing fractions, when I'm dividing fractions, I multiply by the reciprocal. And the reciprocal is the flip of the second fraction. So we have 3/4 times 10 over 1, which is equal to 30 over 4 if you don't reduce or cross cancel. Okay. Over here I have 3/4 divided by 40, which is the same thing as 3/4 times 1 over 40. 3 times 1 is 3, and 4 times 40 is 160. So there again, I have an addition problem of fractions where I'm going to need a common denominator. So your job from here is to find the common denominator for 4 and 160, and then add those two fractions together. The next one I'll do is a 2 star, and the 2 star that I'll do is Daniel. Okay, Daniel, I like his name because it has an A in it, and A is equal to 1, and we know that the identity property says that anything times 1 is itself. So whatever D times N is, D is 4 and N is -1. 4 and -1 is a -4. I don't know if you've already talked about integer rules, but a positive times a negative is a negative. In the denominator, we have that I again. 1/10 is I, and then E is 1/2. E is equal to 1/2, and then L is equal to 3/4. Okay, so we have 3 fractions in the denominator, but that's easy. When we're multiplying, we're just going to multiply the numerators. 1 times 3, which is 3, and then 10 times 2 times 4, which is 80. So we have this wonky looking fraction, but I'm just going to rewrite that as -4 divided by 3/80, which is the same thing as -4 times 80 over 3. And then if I want to just multiply straight across, -4 is -4 over 1. So that's -320 over 3. And I basically just evaluated that for you, but your job is to change -320 over 3 into a mixed number. So you still have to go a step further on that. But change that one and you should be done with Daniel's name. And finally, I'll do a 1 star, Milla. Milla also has an A in her name, which is really easy because A is equal to 1, and 1 times anything is itself. L is equal to 3/4. I is equal to 1/10, and then M is equal to 7. So we have 7 over 1 times 1/10, which is 7/10, divided by 3/4. So again, this is going to start to look common, that you take a fraction that has fractions in it and you rewrite it horizontally. So 7/10 divided by 3/4 becomes 7/10 times 4 over 3. And then you just can multiply across. Always look that you can maybe cancel if you want, otherwise you can simplify in the end. But hopefully those problems give you a head start on evaluating these expressions. I look forward to finding out if I made any errors on my answer key. I'm expecting at least a couple of errors, and I know that you'll be able to find them. So have fun with these algebraic expressions, and good luck.